All right, so today we're jumping right into the world of software development. We're going to pull back the curtain on a role that's super important, but honestly, a lot of people get it wrong: the quality assurance test engineer. So what do they really do all day? Well, let's find out.
When most people hear test engineer, they picture someone who just clicks around trying to break things, someone whose only job is to find bugs. But that's just a tiny, tiny piece of the story. It's not even the main goal.
Because their real role, it's so much bigger. A great test engineer is more like a quality guardian. They're a protector of the entire user experience. Their mission isn't just about finding problems, it's about stopping those problems from ever getting to you in the first place.
So to really get what this Guardian does, we're going to follow the journey of one single feature. We'll start from when it's just an idea, all the way to its release, and we'll see it all through the eyes of the test engineer.
First thing you got to know is that quality doesn't just happen at the end. Nope. It starts way, way before anyone writes a single line of code. It all begins with a solid blueprint, a plan for what good even looks like. So job number one for the test engineer is to become the world's leading expert on this new feature. They dive deep into the requirements, things like user stories or functional specs, to understand exactly what this thing is supposed to do, and just as importantly, why. And this right here shows you why that first step is so critical. Just look at the difference. Users should be able to log in. What does that even mean? It's so vague. But user must enter a valid email and password to log in. Now that is something you can actually test. It's specific. It gives our Guardian a clear target. And this is a huge takeaway. If a requirement is fuzzy or doesn't make sense, the test engineer doesn't just guess. They go and ask questions. They talk to the product owners, the business analysts, anyone they need to get that crystal clear definition. Because, clarity really is the foundation of quality. Okay, so once the requirements are clear, our Guardian creates the test plan. You can think of this as the master blueprint for the whole operation. It lays out the scope, the strategy, and exactly what's going to be checked to make sure this feature is good to go. Now we're moving into the next phase. This is where we go from a high-level plan to the actual nitty-gritty of testing. This is where the strategy gets real. So that big test plan, it gets broken down into smaller pieces called test scenarios. These are basically the big questions we need to answer about the feature. They're the high-level descriptions of what needs to be checked. Let's take a login page, for example. The scenarios are pretty intuitive, right? Can someone log in with the right username and password? What about if they forget their password? And what happens if they type in the wrong stuff? Each of those is a different scenario. Now, this is a really important distinction. If the scenarios are the what we need to check, then the test cases are the how. This is where we get super detailed with step-by-step instructions for each and every scenario. And here's what one of those actually looks like. A test case for a successful login leaves absolutely nothing to chance. For every single step, every action, there's a very specific pre-written expected result. This is the definition of success. No ambiguity allowed. So the test cases are written. The developers have built the feature. Now it's showtime. This is the moment the test engineer actually runs those test cases against the software in a special test environment. Okay, so this is the part everyone thinks about, the bug hunt. But it's about more than just finding flaws. It's about documenting them so perfectly that it tells a clear story to the developers so they know exactly what needs to be fixed. So you're running a test and bam! The thing that actually happens on the screen doesn't match the expected result from your test case. That's it. That's the moment a defect, a bug, is born. The Guardian has just found a crack in the armor. And that bug then goes on a very specific journey. It gets logged with all the details, assigned to a developer, who then fixes it. But it's not over yet. It comes back to our QA Guardian, who retests it to make sure the fix actually worked. Only then can it finally be closed. So finding and squashing individual bugs is awesome. But with hundreds of tests and maybe dozens of bugs, how does the team really know if they're ready to release? How do you see the forest for the trees? The answer? It's data. A huge part of the Quality Guardian's job is reporting. They use metrics to turn all that testing work into a clear story about the overall health of the software. And a simple chart like this can tell you so much, just at a glance. You can immediately see how many tests are passing, how many are failing, and maybe even some that are blocked. It's a real-time snapshot of how things are going. And this chart here is perfect for helping the team prioritize, because not all bugs are created equal, right? This shows if the problems are just minor annoyances or if they're critical show-stopping disasters. That helps everyone focus their energy where it matters most.
So, yeah, from understanding the requirements and making that first blueprint to running the tests, tracking the bugs, and then reporting back with cold, hard data, the test engineer is truly the guardian of quality through that entire process.
And that really brings us to the heart of it. You know, anyone can write code that works, but is it the right code? Does it actually solve the user's problem? Is it reliable? Is it easy to use? That's the difference a quality guardian makes. Thanks for tuning in.